prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. We are reading Canto 2, Chapter 7, verse number 53. Let me recite the verse. Mayayam varnayato mushya Ishvara anumodataha Shunvata shaddaya nityam Mayayatmana muhyati Mayaya varnayato mushya Sarva Ishvarasya anumodataha Shunvata shaddaya nityam Mayayatmana muhyati Mayam varnayato mushya Ishwarasya numodataha Shinvata shaddaya nityam Mayaya atmanam hiyati. Synonym: Mayam, affairs of external energy. Varnayataha, while describing Amushyaha, of the Lord, Ishwarasya, of the personality of Godhead, Anumodataha, thus appreciating, Shunvataha, thus hearing, Shraddhaya, with devotion, Nityam, regularly, Mayaya, by the illusory energy, Atma, the living entity, Na, never, Muyati, become illusion. Translation: the Lord's activities in the association with his different energies should be described, appreciated, and heard in the accordance with the teachings of Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion and respect, one is sure to get out of illusory energy by the of the Lord. Purport: the science of learning a subject matter seriously is different from the sentiments of fanatics. Fanatics or fools may consider the Lord's activities in relation with the external energy to be useless for them, and they may falsely claim to be higher participants in the internal energy of the Lord. But factually, the Lord's activities in the relation of external energy and the internal energy are equally good. On the other hand, those who are not completely free from the clutches of Lord's external energy should devotedly hear regularly about the activities of the Lord in relation with the external energy. They should not foolishly jump to the activities of the Lord's internal energy, falsely attracted by such activities as his Rasa Leela. The chief reciters of the Bhagavatam are very much enthusiastic about the activities of the Lord's internal potency, and the pseudo devotees, absorbed in the material sense enjoyment, falsely jump to the stage of liberated souls and thus fall down deeply into the clutches of external energy. Some of them think that to hear about the pastimes of the Lord means to hear about his activities with the gopis or about his pastimes like lifting the Govardhana hill. And they have nothing to do with the Lord's plenary expansion as the Purusha avatars and their pastimes of the creation, maintenance, or annihilation of the material worlds. But pure devotee knows that there is no difference between the pastimes of the Lord either in Rasa Leela or in creation, maintenance, or destructions of the material world. Rather, the descriptions of such activities of the Lord as the Purusha avatars are specifically meant for persons who are in the clutches of external energy. Topics like Rasa Leela are meant for liberated soul and not for the conditioned soul. The conditioned souls, therefore, must hear with appreciation and devotion of the Lord's pastimes in relationship with the external energy. And such acts are as good as the hearing of Rasa Leela in the liberated state. A conditioned soul should not imitate the activities of liberated soul. Lord Sri Chaitanya never indulged in hearing the Rasa Leela with ordinary men. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the signs of God, the first 9 cantos prepare the ground for hearing the 10th canto. This will be further explained in the last chapter of this canto. In the third canto, it will be more explicit. A pure devotee of the Lord, therefore, must begin reading or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from very beginning and not from the 10th canto. We have several times been requested by some so-called devotees to take up the 10th canto immediately, but we have refrained from such an action because we wish to present Srimad Bhagavatam as the science of Godhead and not as the sensuous understanding for the conditioned soul. This is forbidden by such authorities as Sri Brahmaji by reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as a scientific presentation. The conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the higher status of transcendental knowledge after being freed from the illusory energy based on sense enjoyment. Thus, end of Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Scheduled Incarnation with Specific Functions. Okay, so this verse is the concluding verse of this chapter. In this verse, Srila Prabhupada is explaining a few things like nature of conditioned soul, how they are entangled in the 3 modes of material nature, and how taking the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, one can come out of the clutches of the external energy. When we are talking about extricating ourselves from the clutches of external energy, there is one very nice verse by Prahlad Maharaj. I just want to go through that once. Yeah, it's 7th canto, 9th chapter, verse number 21. Maya manas srijati karmamayam baliyaha kalena chodita gunanumatena pumchaha chandomayam yad ajayarpita shodasharam samsara chakram ajako atire tadanyaha. Let me read the translation. O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, by expanding your plenary portion, you have created the subtle bodies of the living entities through the agency of your external energy, which is agitated by time. Thus, the mind entraps the living entities in unlimited varieties of desires to be fulfilled by the Vedic directions of karma kanda, fruitive activities, and the 16 elements. Who can get free from this entanglement unless he takes, who can get free from this entanglement unless he takes shelter at your lotus feet? Prahlad Maharaj is saying that all the living entities that are born in this world, they come into the external energy, which is Maya. Uh, Maya mana srijati karma mayam baliha. So as soon as living entity comes down, contacts the material energy, immediately they are influenced by external energy. Because of that, their mind starts producing unlimited number of desires. And once you get desires, there should be a way to fulfill those desires, right? So that's why it said Chandomayam. So Vedic scripture gives a lot of avenues to fulfill those desires. But the problem is, people who are interested in fruitive activities, they're stuck here. They don't try to see aim of the Veda. Um, that is to understand the supreme personality of Godhead. Instead, they entangle more and more in the Lord's external energy, right? So this is like a vicious cycle. Prahlad Maharaj is saying that the only way to come out of this entanglement is by taking the shelter of your feet, by hearing about your glories and pastime. Okay, so in this verse, in today's verse also, Prabhupada is saying the same thing here, that the only way that one can come out of clutches of material energy is by regularly hearing and chanting glories and pastimes of the Lord. We also do the same thing, right? So in ISKCON, we regularly chant, we do kirtan, talk about Srimad Bhagavatam, and we talk about Lord's pastime. In this way, by regularly hearing and chanting glories of Krishna, we can extricate ourselves from the clutches of Maya. But there are, Prabhupada is saying there are few people who don't listen to all these pastimes. They have very, selective interest. Prabhupada calls them as fools. Let's see here. Um, uh, so Prabhupada calls them as fools. Fools consider the Lord's activities in relation with the external energy to be useless for them. So they have a tendency to reject that and simply go to the Lord's internal pastime like Rasa Leela. That is not the process given by previous Acharya and Srila Prabhupada. Um, if one wants to relish the internal pastimes of the Lord, Prabhupada says the prerequisite for that is one should be liberated state. One should be in liberated state. If one is in conditioned state and jumps up to liberated state, thinking that I am in the state and I can listen to the internal pastime, that is not good. Srila Prabhupada says that is imitation. And in some place he also says Anusar and Anukar. Anusar is follow. It is suggested to do that. Everybody should follow our previous acharyas, but we should not do imitation. That is condemned. Srila Prabhupada condemned imitation. So sometimes he uses very heavy examples, like if somebody wants to imitate Krishna, then lift Govardhana hill, don't do Rasa Leela. And if somebody wants to imitate Lord Shiva, then drink poison, right? So Prabhupada condemned imitation in so many places. In today's verse, Prabhupada also highlighted the process of how to take the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. One should start reading from the first canto and go from there gradually to 12th canto. So Padma Purana is actually, it compares the different cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam to different limbs of Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think a few weeks back in one of the Sunday feast, Vanshidhari Prabhu talked very nicely about this verse. I'm just repeating that here. First two cantos are lotus feet, Third and fourth cantos are thighs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and fifth canto is navel, and sixth canto is chest, and the 7 and 8 are hands, his arms. Ninth is throat, 10th is smile, and 11th canto is face or is tilak, 12th canto is crown, I think, or his head. In the Isha Upanishad also we learned that Archa Vigraha is not different from Krishna, right? And Srimad Bhagavatam is also non-different from Krishna. Krishna can expand in so many different forms. When Krishna completed his pastime and went back to his abode, the Dharma and Jnana also went back along with him. So, but Krishna is so compassionate that he came as Bhagavatam in the text form. That's why we call a literary incarnation of Supreme Lord. So when we go to the temple, we see the Lord, right? We shouldn't see his face first. We should see his feet first, and then thighs, navel, chest, and his arms, and then his face. That is a process, right? In the same way, when we approach Srimad Bhagavatam, we should take his darshan of his feet first, that first canto, and go from there gradually to 12th canto. And Srimad Bhagavatam, since Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna, by taking the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, one can see the light in the dark age of Kali Yuga. There was one incident mentioned. Srila Prabhupada went to South India once. He stayed with one couple, and that couple was asking him to talk about a Rasa Leela. Srila Prabhupada said it is a very elevated topic. I can't talk about that. But they insisted a lot. Then he again said, it is a very elevated topic. No one should, one should go from first canto all the way till 10th canto. And again, when you go to 10th canto, you should read Lord's birth pastime and childhood pastime. And then, you should go to Rasalila, so that, by that time you'll be in the state to understand a little bit. But, I don't suggest to directly jump into there, right? But again, next day, they insisted to talk about Rasalila. And Prabhupada, he took very humble position, and he said, I am not qualified to talk about Rasalila. You may be qualified to hear, but I am not qualified to speak. And then he excused himself from there. So if we take the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, the way Srila Prabhupada suggested, we can gradually come out of the conditional nature and get love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Padma Purana, it says how to approach Srimad Bhagavatam, right? We understood that, we should start. It is Padma Purana compared Srimad Bhagavatam with different limbs of Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? In the same way, Skanda Purana also talks about Srimad Bhagavatam. I found it's interesting. I just want to share here. It talks about how one can give oral reception to Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Skanda Purana, basically it says there is a superior way and there is an inferior way. To explain that point, Skanda Purana actually gives few examples how Srimad Bhagavatam should be heard. It uses few examples. Superior Bhagavatam hearer or listener are like Jataka bird. Jataka bird are used, used as an example in various scriptures. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that how devotees of Supreme Personality of Godhead are like, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself are called as Jataka Pakshi. So what is Jataka Pakshi? What is the significance of Jataka Pakshi? Unlike any other bird, Jataka bird has a unique quality that, it drinks only rainwater, and it drinks only when it rains. And when it rains, it doesn't sit on the ground and wait for the water, the droplets to come down. It flies up there near this and near the clouds. It drinks directly under the rain clouds. So, so it has very high standard. Sorry about that. Even there is lightning or thunder or thunderbolt, it withstands everything and flies up and drinks rainwater under the rain cloud, and it becomes happy. And once it drinks, it doesn't drink water till it rains again. Okay, basically it goes Nirjala Ekadashi. Skanda Purana says superior listeners of Srimad Bhagavatam is like a Jataka bird. They are attracted only to Srimad Bhagavatam, nothing else. So no mundane topic, no prajalpa, no ordinary literature. He's totally dedicated to Srimad Bhagavatam. So when Srila Prabhupada was saying this, somebody said all the suratas or austerities are so hard to follow. How can one follow this? And Srila Prabhupada, he is very good in answering any questions. He said, everybody was born naked, and everybody acquired all these different conditions by practice. We are not used to shoes, we are not used to cars, we are not used to wearing watches, but by practice we are using all those things. So when everyone is born, even though they were born with no possessions, due to association, one acquired all this different conditioning. So he says similarly, materialistic conditions can be given up by practice. So how we acquire material conditioning by practice? We can also acquire spiritual conditioning by practice. But that includes hearing, developing taste for hearing or reading about Krishna or chanting, right? So Skanda Purana gives the next example as swan. Swan, when the milk is mixed with water, swan has the ability to drink only the milk from the mixture, leaving water there. Similarly, superior listeners of Srimad Bhagavatam, if they put into a situation where one hears mix of things, he rejects mundane thing and takes only the spiritual things. So somebody can argue Jataka bird can stay thirsty till it rains again, but we cannot be like a Jataka bird, right? We can't say that we only be with the Bhagavatam, we don't go to work, we'll go only Bhagavatam class. It's very hard to do that, right? So Purana understands this. So it says, yes, it is difficult to be like a Jataka bird, but at least you can be like swan. It rejects water and takes only the milk. So in the same way, if we in the mixed vibration, it's saying that absorb only the spiritual vibration, leave the mundane vibration, right? And third example it gives is parrot. What does parrot do? When it taught something, it repeats exactly the same way. Similarly, when superior listeners hear Srimad Bhagavatam from bona fide spiritual master or from pure devotee, he accepts that, and he learns it, and he repeats exactly in the same way, without including his own things. Especially while preaching, they will not add anything or remove anything from there. So that is the example of parrot, and the last example is fish. So what does fish do? A fish, when it drinks water, it doesn't close its eyes. Similarly, actually, it doesn't have eyelids. Similarly, when we are in Srimad Bhagavatam class, when we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we are hearing the glories of Krishna. We should keep our eyes open and drink the nectar from ears. So we shouldn't sleep. Meaning here the meaning is one should be very attentive without losing the focus. So these are the 4 examples given for the superior hearing. And Skanda Purana also talks about inferior listeners. Okay, again it talks. I mean, it gives few examples here. The first one is wolf. Uh, Wolf actually it makes annoying noise and it disturbs everybody around him, right? So in the same way, listeners, so few listeners, they sleep during the class, they snore, or they make some noise, they open the door, moving something during the class. They don't consider, they are not considerate about Srimad Bhagavatam class. All these things are, um, uh, is not good. The other example given is Brunda bird. I tried to search for this bird and somehow I didn't find. I found only a Berunda bird. I think it is same as that. So parrot repeats, what is taught, but Brunda bird just repeats any kinds of sound that anybody makes. So why this example is given is one who is inferior hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam just repeats without putting into practice what one has heard, right? Parrot repeats what is taught. Brunda bird, whatever sound comes, it just it repeats it and it just echoes. It's like talking dog in our iPhone app, right? It just repeats whatever is told. So this is condemned or discouraged in Skanda Purana. The next example is bull, because bull doesn't differentiate between sweet grapes and anything pungent. For example, say if you give sweet grapes and pungent oil cake, bull eats it without discriminating. So inferior listeners, when they hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they think that it is yet another ordinary literature and yet another scripture. But Srimad Bhagavatam is called as Sarva Vedanta Saram in the 12th canto, in 13th chapter and 15th verse. It's already 8. I wanted to read that verse. Let me skip that. The last example is given is camel. Camel goes one step further. Camel just leaves all the, if you give juicy grass or juicy fruit, it leaves everything and it goes for thorny plants, thorny cactus plants, and it chews and woos its blood, and it enjoys its own blood, right? Right. So similarly, inferior listener, even he comes to Srimad Bhagavatam, he hears Srimad Bhagavatam, they reject it and go for something mundane. So these are the few examples given for inferior listener in Skanda Purana. I kind of liked it. I wanted to share it here. I'm done here. If anybody has any comments or correction, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class. You gave so many examples, and you expounded on why each example is relevant in what case. I couldn't have imagined, or thought of it. So thank you so much. I think I'll go through this a couple of more times until I memorize all those examples. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, if you don't have anything, we can conclude here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I really liked your example of the Chataka bird. It was very, very beautiful. I just wanted to say that it was very, very nice. You said how the Chataka bird drinks when there's very heavy rain, and the only time it drinks next is when it rains again.
Yeah, that's really nice, right, Prabhu? And it's very difficult to follow that, but that's why the way the swan example is connected to Jataka bird, I like that. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
Thank you.
Similarly, the devotees only read or hear or speak about Bhagavatam, and that's the point of that, right? Example.
Yes, Prabhu. So they are only taken the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. They don't do anything else. That is Jataka bird. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also called as the Jataka bird, because he doesn't do anything mundane, right?
Yes. And how is that connected to the swan? You mentioned how is that
swan? Basically, swan drinks only milk, leaving the water behind, right? So we cannot be like Jataka bird. We cannot say that we'll be only with Srimad Bhagavatam. Will not work. Will not go to office. Something like that, right? So swan is like being with non-devotees, working with materialistic people. We will take only the spiritual part of it. We will leave out all the mundane things. That is the example for swan.
I see. Wow. Okay. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just think about me, Prabhu. I'm the example. Sorry. Just kidding.
I feel like I'm Burunda bird. Like, I'm just repeating without, studying properly.
Jai. Vinod Bihari Prabhu ki Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I was late, but I was listening in the last few minutes. I feel that the taste of Srimad Bhagavatam for you is increasing day by day. And I could feel when you give a classes that I
All
can.
your blessings, Prabhu.
No, I'm nothing. And I did not do anything for you. So basically the taste of hearing is coming because of the association. So I just had this, I was talking to the other class and I was asking what happens when we have this association of, because everything happens in the association of devotees, right? So what is that it's happening? So one of the Prabhus, he said, Satam Prasangam Mama Mirya Samvido, right? So that one is, first is the inquiry, and another one is the knowledge transfer, and then the third one is, he said, transformation of heart. So for all of us, honestly, being in an association of all the devotees, hearing every day, we inquire, it's rather than, I don't know whether I'm doing an inquiry, but at least the knowledge transfer is happening. Just the knowledge transfer is also transforming our hearts. So this is the power of the association of devotees. And then the inquiry should also happen, because the association also means the exchange of thoughts, especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam. If we don't exchange our thoughts, that means it's just dry. So, but I'm also learning how to do that. What do you exchange? So I thought maybe a few things to exchange this idea. That's why that brought up. Thank you for that, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. I had a question, Prabhu, about the Chataka bird. Is there an English name for that bird?
I don't know, Mataji.
Yeah.
Anybody else knows what is the English word for Jataka bird?
Is it the cuckoo? I don't know if it's the cuckoo. They say the cuckoo. I don't know.
Don't know, Prabhu. Let me do some research, Mataji. If I find, then I'll definitely.
Google says Jacobian cuckoo. Jacobin cuckoo. No, Jacobin cuckoo.
Thanks, Prabhu.
I mean, I always imagined that bird drinking the water as the rain falls. But your picture of it, it going to the clouds and drinking from the cloud, right from up there, that was very, very fascinating. Very
that is really amazing, right?
Amazing.
It doesn't sit in.
I was very, very fascinated by that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. It's wonderful, your class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
How do we even drink that? Because even when you see the clouds, sometimes in the tall buildings, we come out and we see the clouds as well, right? And the clouds move. Even in the aeroplane, when we go, we don't see the water. It's a subtle form of water, right? The cloud has a subtle form of water, which is very difficult to understand. I don't know how this bird can drink like that. It's like
that is in nature.
Mesmerizing. Yeah.
It has that kind of ability to drink directly under the rain clouds, right?
Yeah, as you said, like Paramahamsa, the swan can separate the water from milk, and then I don't know. It's a difficult task. I don't know how he does. We know how to even mix the water to the milk. We can do very nicely, but how to separate? No idea.
Yeah. I mean, I heard this in a swan drinking the milk from the water. I was really wondering, is it really true? And I was just, searching on that. Many people are saying this is only Indian myth, but one person actually took the video of that and posted in the YouTube. That's really good. When it drinks milk, I see only water left in the bowl.
Oh, I was just thinking this might be a poetic statement, but it's not really. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Actually, when I was a kid, I think 6th or 7th grade, there was stories of Gautama Buddha in our school book, Telugu book. And one of the stories was exactly the same story where there is this swan to which, they feed a bowl of milk, and it very clearly drinks the milk, and then there's water left in the bowl. And so it's not a myth. It's these stories are also not myths. They're all true. It's only like earlier, the Prabhupada's example which Prabhu gave. We are in this association where we have learned to believe all other things and reject the truth. We have become the reverse of the swan. I think that's what at least I am. So slowly and steadily in Prabhupada and his disciples association, I'm starting to learn to recognize what is truth, so I don't reject them. It's really thank you, Prabhuji, again. Nice discussions.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anything else? Already.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that that the swans have a place in their throat, like a gland in their throat, where it's warm. So when the milk goes in their throat, then it sort of curdles, and it becomes like paneer, and the water and then the curdle they keep. This is what I heard. That this is actually how the mechanism works in their throat. There's some gland there that when it goes through, it curdles the milk, and so the water comes out.
Nature is really amazing, right, Prabhu?
Yes. Yes.
Amrita Kelly Mataji, you are trying to say something?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, nothing. Thank you for your class and these discussions. I was thinking of this Chataka bird. So where can we see as the discussion was going on? My thoughts went to six Goswamis. Though they are here, but they're really in the spiritual world. We hear so many of these pastimes. And I was thinking of Raghunath Das Goswami. He's not really eating anything from here. I mean, just barely drinking some little cup of buttermilk 2 or 3 days once in. But he is eating all that sweet rice and all that in the spiritual world. So I was just thinking about it. They're like totally up there, and that is only their real connection. So somehow I just thought about it, and it's very nice, as other devotees are saying. I could relate myself with all the inferior listeners, and it's actually nice to recognize and be aware, so that we can try to follow the superior listeners example. Thank you for bringing it up. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for your wonderful comment.
It's I was just Googling here. It's a Jacobin cuckoo. That's the Chataka bird.
Yeah, I think Lakshmikant Prabhu also said the same thing. I think, yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Bihari Prabhu, nice class. A very good discussion as well. So, inferior and superior is after a long time I'm hearing again. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Vansakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.